Here we have 3 Ram heavy-duty trucks that look almost identical.
At least from the front, yeah.
Yes, but they're very different. In this video, what I would like to do is I want to show you guys the difference between a 2500 Ram, 3500, and 4500. But there's something else interesting.
That's right. All of these are within a couple $1,000s of each other. So basically speaking, for the same amount of money, you can get any one of these.
So which heavy-duty truck do you buy? Let's start with the 2500. Well, we're very familiar with a truck like this, right? Because we own a 2500 Bighorn.
Right. It's a different year, but essentially the same vehicle. I mean, there's very little difference. Although this Bighorn has some goodies that ours doesn't.
Yeah, we'll show you all of that in a couple of minutes. But this is a 24. Actually, all 3 of these trucks are 2024s. And this video would not be possible without our friends at Johnson Auto Plaza here in Brighton, Colorado. This video would not be possible because it's hard for us to get these trucks all together.
Yes, indeed. And so what we want to do is do a little walk around first of the 2500, show you basically what's changed, which isn't a whole lot. But I did notice one thing, Andre.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah, new mirrors.
Yeah, I'm very happy about that.
I didn't like the older mirrors. I know you did, but
yeah, I kind of did.
But I love the new style. You have the light here. They're power extendable, power folding. There's the light.
Yeah.
So you have additional light, and of course convex mirror and a flat mirror. So they have new mirrors. So that's nice. They have new tech. But this is actually all 3 of them are crew cabs. This is still the cab they've had for many years,
yeah.
right? And this is a standard bed, so shorter bed. So this is a 6'4",
which is exactly the same as our bed. Am I correct?
Exactly.
Okay, but there is a longer bed you can get.
You can, and we'll show you that next time, because here actually this is a good view. If you look at it in profile, you could see that 1-ton truck sticking out a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. By the way, Andre, I noticed that the taillights are very different between the 2500 and 3500.
Yeah, and it has to do with optional equipment, right? This is a fancier light. Actually, we had something similar on our MTRX that we used to have, because it has blind spot monitoring, radar system, and it's pretty fancy.
I see. Yeah, this one looks a little bit more plain Jane, but we'll get to this in a sec.
Yeah. So all 3 of them are equipped with a Cummins turbo diesel. So for about the same amount of money, should we tell them how much?
Oh, you want to do the pricing now?
Yeah, well, because we need to set the playing field.
They're all roughly near $80,000, which is painful to say.
It is painful to say, but and we'll get back. We have to pick our favorites, right?
Yeah.
You get a lot of capability for that money too.
You do, but
you get 20,000 pounds of towing.
Yeah.
With this 2500. Let's look at the payload, and let's look at the engine, because that makes a big difference too.
Let's have a look.
2,122. Nathan, it's only 2,100 pounds.
That's not great.
No.
I want more.
But take a peek inside, guys.
Is it because it's got luxurious stuff?
It's got a lot of luxuries. Look, a nice soft steering wheel.
Oh yeah.
A giant screen.
I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about this big screen. I really don't mind it being about that big, but it does the job. By the way, a lot of the controls are actually in the screen, so you have to kind of get used to that.
Yeah, and we'll take it for a drive, and because they drive very differently, these 3 trucks.
Hey, I want to address a quick thing.
Yeah.
Because this is not our truck and this is going to be sold to a customer, we're not removing the plastics or anything that are on the seats. So if you guys are bothered by it, I apologize, but there's a good reason for it. We should pop the hood.
Yeah, and we're also not peeling plastic off the screens, because a new customer wants to do that.
There's a satisfaction about that.
Yes.
That is, yeah.
But there's a big difference in engines. So even though they're all 6.7-liter Cummins turbo diesels, there's a huge difference between power levels and capabilities.
There is indeed.
Oh,
yes.
it's warm.
So, by the way, it's below freezing, and there's a pretty good wind kicking in. So we are slightly frozen. We weren't quite prepared for this weather.
Yeah, because it's March. I thought it was springtime.
Well, the other day it was 65 degrees, and it's not right now. Okay, anyway, let's go on.
So this is not a high output engine. So all 2,500 trucks with Ram are equipped with this engine. It's 370 horse and 850 pound-feet of torque, and it's made it to 6-speed automatic, all of them now, and it's a 68 RFE. This is the designator for the transmission, which is actually built by Stellantis. You know, it's within their house.
Right, gotcha. So just so you guys know, there is, at least with the 2500, a Hemi that is still available. I believe they're still making it.
Yeah,
they haven't killed all the Hemis yet. And that's the big one, the 6.4.
Yeah.
And that one comes with an 8-speed automatic transmission. So a little bit of a difference there. Okay, so...
Yeah. So before we drive, I want to show you guys one more thing that's in the back.
Okay.
Let's walk to the back really quick. This truck is equipped, like many others we've had, with a coil rear spring.
Yes.
Our truck we owned, also, I just got stickers.
Nice. You okay?
I'm okay. I'm okay. That's very important because it's a little bit softer.
Yeah.
The payload is a little bit lower.
Yeah.
And more comfortable. So I want to drive this back to back and see what the differences are.
Yeah, because
look here.
That one, yeah.
This is a 1-ton single rear wheel, and it's got leaves. There's a stack of 4. So the ride will be quite a bit different between them.
All right, well, let's get to it.
Let's go. Well, my friend, we know this truck quite well, or a truck like this.
Yeah, I mean, although it's a little bit of a Twilight Zone thing because we're so used to it, yet we sit in this one, it's like, wait a minute.
It feels a lot nicer, isn't it?
It does feel nicer. There's things going on here. So for one thing, we have this giant screen.
Yeah.
Which, as I said before, I'm not a big fan of giant screens, but this one's okay. This also has a upgraded stereo system. It's an Alpine.
Yeah.
Don't know what else. I guess the seats.
A lot of everything else is kind of the same. I mean, the mirrors are different. We already pointed that out.
This is so much more expensive than the truck we bought, though.
So when we bought our truck 2 years ago, we paid for a Bighorn with a sport package, much like this,
right?
$68,000.
So,
but we didn't have some of the more tech.
Yeah. Okay.
This one.
Yes. But is it $12,000 more in terms of what it's worth?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a hell of a thing. It's already a crazy price of $67,000. But regardless of that, okay, we could go on a price all day. We agree with you guys. You know, prices are out of control. But this truck, we're used to. It's a good drive. You could drive this one daily without much of a problem.
Yeah, and also it does not have a super long bed, which means you could park it in your driveway, maybe not your garage, but your driveway easily. You could take it to Costco or a big box store, and you could park it...
Or even Sam's Club. I'm just saying.
Sorry, I'm a little bit Costco-centric here.
That's all right, so am I. So another thing, though, this has rear coil springs.
Yeah.
That is a big difference, too. The ride is completely different than the other two.
And it's very similar to the truck we own.
Yeah.
And like you said, it could be a wonderful daily driver that will pull trailers like a trailer is not even behind you, right?
We've had that experience.
Very capable. We put 26,000 miles on our truck in the last 2 years. Problem-free. Just nice.
Yeah. Now, with that all being said, this is not quite a blank canvas. You can get a lesser version of this, right? There's
a tradesman. You could subtract a lot of these options, right?
Well, if you get rid of the diesel, you're going to save thousands.
Oh, you will at least save 10 grand.
Yeah.
Like $9,300 or $9,500 immediately for the Hemi. So if you're not towing trailers on a regular basis, maybe the Hemi is the way to go for you.
Well, for me, it would be, because I would get this with the tradesman and then with
a power wagon package.
Gosh, you're making me...
Sorry, I knew you were going there.
Yeah, but that package combined, without having to get all the goodies, you still have the lockers front and rear, you have the disconnectable sway bar,
and the winch,
the bumper in the front, the beefier suspension for off-roading. But then again, you lose a lot of capability, nowhere near the towing capability or hauling capability of this truck.
Yeah, but this truck really drives almost like a 1500, right? I mean, there's not a lot of difference.
Yeah, it feels solid and
comfy.
Yeah,
and nice and comfy.
Yeah, it's going to be different with the other trucks.
Let's accelerate onto the highway and see, how it goes. This is not the high output.
No, this one has what, 800 foot-pounds of torque?
850.
850. Okay.
850.
Bunch of chili.
The merge lane is very short.
Yeah, I'd say that's less than 100 feet.
No, yeah, that's why power is necessary. And this Cummins is wonderful. And of course it has 4 high, 4 low. It's got a brake controller, exhaust brake, tow haul mode, all the standard features for a heavy duty truck. Beautiful.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I want to mention it in this video. GM and Ford have redesigned their trucks
They're
pretty heavily.
Yes.
And Ram has not yet.
No, but there's a caveat. What did you recently hear?
That this year, near the end of 2024, we will see significant news. And I asked more, tell me more, Ram,
Right.
and they would not.
Of course not.
Because it's future product, right?
Well-
But something is coming later this year.
Well, which we expect. But
Yeah.
in addition, they're not going to give you a lot of information because they just launched the new 1500.
Right.
And that's
so
a
why
huge thing.
distract?
Exactly. You're distracting from the main thing, which is there's a new 1500 out there. And yes, there's a heavy duty that's coming, and it's coming soon. But why spoil, what they're already producing? And there's an awful lot of people out there who will buy a 2500, and they really could get away with buying a 1500. You know what I mean?
Totally. And there's one thing that's bothering me about this one is that payload. 2,100 pounds of payload. Some half-ton trucks have that much.
Yeah, that's
So-
an issue. Do you think it's the coil springs?
It's a combination of that, and Ram continues to hold their line on 10,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating on this truck.
Right.
And Ford and Chevy and GM have bumped up some of their ratings on their 2500s, and thus allowing more payload. So Ram still refusing to do this, and that's why the payload is kind of low.
So this is a higher level issue. This is something that's coming from Ram Command, from the top brass.
Yeah, and it probably has to do with certification and money you have to pay for that. But still, nonetheless,
Money you have to pay for that. Stellantis is paying millions and millions and millions of dollars every year just for flunking their cafe numbers. I mean, come on.
let me make a turn here.
Okay.
Okay, do you think I can make this?
Sure.
Okay, let me make as much space as possible. I'm turning. I'm in two-wheel drive. Ooh,
Yeah.
barely.
Look at that. You
Can
got
I do
it.
it?
Sure.
Oof,
You had about
I was,
about 6 inches.
I was really sweating. All right, so let's get into the next. Let's see the next truck.
All right.
Next on the list is the 1 ton.
It's a 3,500.
Yeah.
3,500. Yeah.
And also the front end looks a little bit different because, in that 3/4 ton, the front end was painted kind of body color in black, and this is chromed out.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of chrome.
So, but very similar design. You can see the toe points are about the same. The bumpers are the same, except chrome versus paint. Do you want to pop the hood? Because there's something else underneath here that we need to talk about. So 3500s, you can get a high output engine. Still same displacement.
Yeah.
But now 420 horsepower and 1,050 pound-feet of torque. Over 1,000 pound-feet of torque.
Do you remember at the Chicago Auto Show many years ago when they announced that? You and I were freaking out.
Yeah,
because
Ram was first to 1,000.
They were first,
Yeah.
and everybody was just like going crazy.
And of course now they're the least.
But it was like 6 days later, and Ford's like, aha! You know what I mean?
So here's the deal. The transmission is also different.
Yeah.
And you can kind of tell immediately because the dipstick for the transmission fluid is on the driver's side, and it says ASRC. Sorry, it's upside down. Oh. There you go. So you could get a couple different transmissions, but underneath the hood of this one, I'm hoping I can do this correctly, is a Ison.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more heavier duty transmission. It's handling more power and more torque coming out of this engine. So if you are interested in pulling heavier loads, or maybe you just love the power, right? That's why you would choose this over the other one.
Well, let's see how much this can actually pull and carry over that one. I'm curious about the...
Yeah, the payload should be quite a bit different. 4,173. Dude, it's almost 4,200. So it's basically double.
This is double.
Yeah.
And it's also a long bed.
Yes.
Yeah, so this thing carries like a maniac.
Yeah, and it's probably a little bit more than 20,000 pounds of towing capability, but it's about the same on towing. But because it's a longer bed, it's an 8-foot bed, right? And this one is equipped, sorry for this, if you look down in here, it has a gooseneck as well. So, and the longer bed allows you to put also a fifth wheel attachment.
Right, without having to...
Without hitting the back glass of the back of the cab.
Yeah, and I can see where all the lines plug in right there, right where your hand is. And I think it's a better location than where it is on our model, am I correct? Which is right there by the tailgate.
Yeah, that's not great.
This is a better location, I would agree. But there is a drawback to this, and that's inside.
Okay. Well, it's a little bit more simple. It's also a big horn.
Yeah, but I mean, look at this, Andre. So, I remember Stubby, we miss it desperately, by the way. This has the same screen. Yeah, look at that. This is my cell phone. My cell phone, it's smaller than my cell phone.
Yes.
It still has what it needs. I think a backup cam in there, which might work. But the bottom line is that is a really small screen for a vehicle that costs nearly 80 grand. That is where the trade-off is, I think, in this particular case. Not as much. I don't think these seats are heated either.
But you do have, these comfortable cloth.
Yes, and I love having this. Yes, this is great. With this little extra storage here.
Yeah.
So this is much more of a work truck in that respect, but it still has, the amazing amount of payload.
But interestingly enough, they're both big horns, the 2500 and this one.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of driving me a little bit nutty.
Yeah.
Is the fact that this one is, the interior just seems to be like 3 steps below that one.
But if you're pulling, let's say you're buying this truck as a vacation vehicle and you want that to carry that big fifth wheel camper behind you, I would choose this one because payload is greater.
Yes.
More capability.
Yeah.
And longer bed.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. We should probably take this for a ride.
Let's do it. Both the 2500 and the 3500 have a lot of other configurations. You can get a 2-door version of each. You can get a mega cab. The giant,
big cab.
The bigger than crew. Giant one.
There is something, though, that you can't get.
What?
We talked about it earlier, how you can get the Power Wagon configuration on the Transman, right?
Yeah.
You can't get a Power Wagon configuration on the 3500.
No, you can't.
Which is different than Ford. Ford will allow you to get the Tremor on pretty much anything.
Basically, 350 or 250,
right.
And the various trim levels as well.
Exactly. So that's something to keep in mind if you want something this heavy duty.
But let's face it, the Tremor is a slightly lesser package than a Power Wagon package.
I'm not going to disagree.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing. But at the same time, you still would be able to go up a level in terms of capacity and still get an off-road capable vehicle. Now, granted, this one does have 4-wheel drive.
It does, but it has a push button once again, like the 2500 and this one. We showed the small screen already.
Right.
And the cloth seats. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with these seats.
I don't have a problem with these
they're
seats.
comfy.
I don't have a problem with these seats at all. It's interesting because there's some people out there who are just like, no, leather or nothing. Now, I will say this, if you have a dog or a kid, both of which are really messy, having leather seats is great because it's a little bit easier to clean up if they do something horrible like explode, which I've had happen.
Yeah.
Cloth seats, like what I own in my vehicle, you have cloth on yours too, right?
I do.
But see, both our kids are old enough not to explode for the most part.
Right.
Although my daughter did spill iced coffee in my car.
But the dog, if your dog sheds, that's another issue.
It is. It does not help to have cloth seats with that either.
Yeah.
So there are reasons why, leather seats pay off, and frankly, they smell better and look better, I think. But if you're working or you're going long distance and you don't have an exploding kid or animal, then you're fine.
You know what? As we're putting a mile under our belt here, this does not feel that choppy to me. This feels
It
okay.
does have the longer wheelbase.
Yeah, so the big stretch actually compensates for the harder suspension.
Right.
And also, this has a 17-inch wheel with a little bit more sidewall.
So there's a lot more rubber that's compressing and everything else.
And that truck we just drove, the 2500, had a 20-inch wheel with a lower profile tire.
In fact, that wheel and tire setup is exactly what ours came with.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you know what?
Same.
I probably would do away with that. I mean, I know the 20s look nice and blacked out and all this stuff.
Well, you and I both off-road.
Yeah.
For one thing.
And that's why we put 37s on our truck, to have proper tires.
Yeah, I would agree. This, to me, is a better candidate for that type of upgrade. And in addition, granted, this is stripped down by comparison. It doesn't have the heated seats.
And it is about 78 grand, so it's a little bit lower on price.
It's a little bit lower on price.
Yeah.
But you are getting a vehicle that is much more of a work truck. And yeah, sir.
Feel that 1,000 pound-feet of torque?
This thing is an animal. It's got a lot of power.
Yes.
Yeah, this thing will really move, and it's been proven. We've driven these before. We know how powerful they are.
Yeah. But are you noticing a little bit of chatter now? There's some chatter happening here.
Well, we're on a really uneven street, and so that's definitely feeding into it. I'm not surprised, but I will tell you this. The last time I drove a heavy-duty Chevrolet, now that was, I believe, a 2500, the last one we had, right?
Okay, yeah.
I thought it rode better than both Rams.
Well, they have independent front suspension in the GM.
That probably makes a big difference.
All right, let's pull onto the highway. Yeah. So, and then we'll do a turnaround test as well to see exactly how this compares.
Gee, a long wheelbase? I wonder.
That's not going to help us.
It's not going to help.
No, but the ride is not terrible. Yes, there's a bit more chatter, right? There's a fire going on.
Yeah, I can smell it.
It's not the truck.
It's a wood fire. It's down over there.
Yeah. There's a little bit more chatter in the suspension, but as soon as you load it up, right? If you're towing a trailer, if you have a camper in the back, it will smooth out, even out, and both of those trucks, the 2500 and this one, should ride about the same.
I would agree. I would say that the 2500 will still handle better. That coil spring suspension does help with handling.
Especially the multi-link system that they have in the back.
Yes. And in addition to the fact that it's a shorter wheelbase.
Yes.
It's just going to handle better, just period. However, I will say that so far this thing has proven to be just fine. We've driven many of these before, and they have all shone brightly. As far as I'm concerned, in addition, I really like having the ability to bring 6 people along. Having this center seat to me is a real bonus, and I wish you would have this as a standard feature on more 1500 trucks.
Yeah, it's still 78 grand. I mean, but it's the cheapest of these three.
Yeah.
So, or the least expensive, I should say, not the cheapest.
Once again, you're paying for that engine.
Yeah. And the transmission. The heavier transmission.
Yeah, the engine transmission, the powertrain.
Yeah. All right, let's do a quick turnaround here, and I'll probably won't make it. I mean,
no, you're not going to make it.
This is a longer wheelbase.
I will bet some real money on that. I will bet $50 out of Roman's wallet. You're not going to.
Okay.
You're not going to make this U-turn.
Let me try. Okay, so I'm going to go this way. I'm going to get as much space as I could, right? Mm-hmm. And I think I was identically here.
Yep.
And now I'm going to turn. And
you'll miss that one, but you're not gonna miss this one.
Oh,
yeah, you're like 5 feet further than you were before.
Yeah, it's not a total apples to apples comparison.
No, but I mean, it's
but it shows the bed, right? How it's different.
This is, the payoff of a long bed is that you get, can hold more stuff, obviously. But the negative is you lose maneuverability. And like even in this parking lot, you have to really think through your turns and square them all off.
And that's why I'm not talking much right now, because I'm really focused on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, let's look at the bigger truck, the 4500.
All right.
All right, my friend. Now it's time for the big boys.
Yeah, this thing is much beefier truck, I gotta tell you.
Yeah.
Woo!
So something visually is different too, because we've looked at the two other front ends, and here, if you can point over here, it's got really wide fenders. The front fenders are wider.
Yeah, and the whole front end stands up higher as well.
Yeah.
Does it look like the front tow hooks are also much beefier?
Yes, look at the amount of steel there is here. Macho. And actually, this is what I like about Ram, and Ford is doing something similar, is that when you step up to higher classes of truck, they still have kind of the common look. And also, they're not gigantic semi-trucks. You know, they're like 2 feet up in the air.
Right, yeah, I would agree. I like the way the hood slopes, too. From the driving position of these trucks, it makes it a little bit easier to identify where your bumper may be. In some cases, some trucks, it just goes off, and it's really difficult to tell.
But the price is identical, keep in mind.
Yes.
Even compared to that 2500.
But dude, it's missing something.
What?
There's no bed.
Wait, what?
No bed.
Okay. I knew that, of course.
So that's where we have to put something on here in order to make this thing useful.
But it's a blank canvas, Nathan, where you could put anything. You could put a nice flat bed here. You could put a pickup truck bed. You could put a camper back here. You can do any number of things.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just kind of reminding you of the big difference here. Now, also, beefier springs, different axle. I mean, this is a very different vehicle in that respect.
Much heavier. So remember the 4 leaves we saw on the 1-ton truck?
Yeah.
Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? Is that possible? It's possible.
Yeah, Andre, it is.
Also, different fuel tank. So you see where the fuel door is on that truck?
Yeah.
And the tank is kind of a little bit skinnier and mounted lengthwise in that truck.
Yeah.
This has a midship tank here in the back. And also, I believe you can get a version of this truck, maybe a little bit longer, with dual tanks as well. So you can carry more fuel in a different orientation a little bit.
So, first of all, what are we talking about in terms of power? And what are we talking about in terms of payload and all that?
Yeah, let's look.
Because that's a very different thing.
Let's look underneath the hood. By the way, the reason why the wider fender is because the front axle is wider.
Yeah.
By the way, 10 lugs, not 8. And this should allow it to turn better. And during our drive, we'll try to check it. We'll try to make a turn and see if it's indeed better than the other two.
That sounds like a really good idea.
Let's pop it.
I wanted to point out something, by the way, if you're curious.
What's up?
It's still a 4-wheel drive.
Yes.
But unlike certain trucks, this one has the big old lever that you pop it into 4-wheel drive.
We'll show it in a second. Yeah.
Manly.
So this is a different class of truck, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as you step above 3500s, these are considered, commercial grade trucks, 4500s and 5500s. So the engines are rated differently.
Yeah.
None of them have EPA numbers, by the way.
Which is why we do what we do.
Yeah, which is why we test trucks and we put them on the iGauntlet,
Right.
stuff is towing test, and Denver 100 MPG loops. Power rating is different, about 360 horsepower and 800 pound-feet of torque. So it has less torque than the other two trucks.
Right.
But it's rated differently. Once again, it's basically engine certification versus chassis certification. Different life cycles, right? Duty cycles. But look, it still has the heavy duty transmission, the Ison.
Okay.
The Ison is underneath it because it will be carrying heavier loads.
So, detuned slightly is one thing you could say.
Yeah.
Perhaps for longevity.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where you're heading with it? Okay.
Basically, but also the testing cycles are a little bit different. So,
Right.
so it's not totally apples to apples, so to speak. Let's look inside before we drive it.
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
So
Also payload, right?
well, yeah, you're going to payload and towing, yeah.
By the way, the dualies, the 3500 dualies are capable of towing about 37,000 pounds. Nathan, it doesn't have a payload number. You know why?
Because there's
no bed.
There's no bed.
Yeah. So this is the other thing with a 45 or 5500. They generally do not come with anything back here.
Yeah.
So the manufacturer, Ram, doesn't know the weight of the truck because there's nothing here.
Right. So you could put in an aluminum bed if you wanted to and
Save some weight. But here, let me show you this sticker. The gross vehicle weight rating is 16,000.
Okay.
So on the 1-tons dualies, it's 14,000. So this is 2,000 pounds over that.
So could we assume that this could hold 6,000 pounds without a problem?
Yeah, I think so. I think this chassis I mean, I'm eyeballing this truck.
Right.
So it could be a little bit over 9,000 pounds as it sits. So like you said, at least 6,000 pounds of, once again, a ton more than the other one.
Right, but that makes sense given the fact that how the axle's set up and the suspension's set up and everything else.
And do you want to show the shifter?
Yeah, shifter.
For the four-wheel drive is on the floor.
That's proper, yo.
Yeah.
I much prefer a mechanical four-wheel drive system over, say, flipping a switch or turning a knob. I know that nowadays they work much better. They used to not be so great. But I still would. I like feeling that it actually is working.
And it's very macho, too.
It's that, too. That, which, of course, matters.
Very macho.
You know what else is macho?
What?
Getting out of the cold wind, getting into this thing, and taking it around. I really think we should.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, dude. I'm excited. This is a big boy truck. I love big truks.
Yeah.
I cannot lie.
You know, and it's a proper dually, so you have to really thread the needle in this parking lot. But I mean, this is the platform people would use for motorhomes, for trade trucks.
Yeah, there's a big motorhome right there.
Big old flatbeds for hot shots.
Little cranes, big bucket trucks. All that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I already can tell that my steering wheel moves further. I can tell that I can turn a little bit better. So, they've had these classes of truck for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Ford has had 450, 550s, and then Ford introduced the 600s, which is a slightly heavier version of their Super Duty.
Mm-hmm.
And then GM, several years ago, they teamed up with International on their 45, 55, 6500 trucks. But that's a different chassis altogether,
right?
As far as their heavy trucks.
Well, it's a very different ride.
Can you tell?
Oh, yeah. Hey, glad we don't have full bladders.
Well, I counted 11. Oh, I think my innards are moving.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Andrei Smirnoff School of Acting.
No, I'm serious. My innards are moving.
Well, this is definitely something. So, before you guys start freaking out, I'm like, oh my god, it's like you're riding a cabbage cart.
It has no bed.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's no weight in the back whatsoever. So it's built to hold a lot of weight. We're guessing the minimum that this would probably be affected would be 6,000 pounds.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more.
I'm thinking more, but so.
Well, let's step into it. Okay. Oh, there's a little bit of power there.
Well, the output on this is the least of the three.
Yeah, it is. But it doesn't quite feel like it's lacking. I mean, 800 pound-feet of... Jeez.
Probably because it's sprung like a Formula One car.
Yes.
We're immediately feeling the effects of moving quickly.
Okay, but I love the blank canvas of this.
Yeah.
Like, because there are a lot of new companies, Australians really pioneered the tray bed concept.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're really fancy beds.
Those aluminum beds.
Yeah, and they have drawers and they have water tanks in them.
Yeah.
And I would want something like that on this. Like a proper tray bed with, additional equipment on it and maybe a flat portion where I can put a camper. And I can do all that stuff.
I hear you. I would love to put a big old box on this thing and have it fully self-contained. Just have it weigh about 5,000 extra pounds. So maybe throw extra lead for ballast so we don't die while we're driving. But this is exactly what that type of platform is for.
Yeah.
Or you can haul extremely heavy things with this. Yeah. And as you say, bucket vehicle. It could be anything.
And you said it, hot shot.
Yep.
Yeah, you could also do a hot shot thing with this.
You should probably explain what that is in case.
Okay, hot shot driving. It's basically either short distance or sometimes not even short distance, but special deliveries. So like a lot of hotshot drivers carry trailers delivering from the factory to the dealer, right? Or to the customer. Boats. You can carry, those double-decker small trailers full of cars.
Full of cars, yes.
Or delivering like oil field supplies or something like that. That's kind of a specific job. Basically hotshot driving. This truck could have a small bed and a gooseneck hitch, and then it will be great. Right?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what this truck is built for.
Yeah. All right, I cannot wait to go to the parking lot and show you. I'm excited to show you the turning radius.
The turning radius should be interesting. And once again, you maintain that's why the wheels, the front end axle is wider in the front. I know, it's just a lovely feel. That's where the fire's coming from.
Oh, the fire was over there.
Yeah, I think it's just a controlled burn.
Okay. Oh yeah, the farmer is actually controlling it. Okay, let me accelerate onto the highway. Ooh, there's a little bit of punch. There's some punch there.
It gets up and goes, but there's nothing in it.
No.
Yes, I know guys wearing it, but
we should Ike this, maybe, or something like this.
Well, if you're gonna Ike this, you gotta put something on it.
Oh, absolutely, not empty.
Yeah.
No. Well, no, we have to put a giant big trailer behind it and Ike it. Because we could take a Ford F450 and, well, it'll be harder to get a GM 4500 because it's a different class of vehicle.
Yeah, you suddenly have to meddle with International, essentially.
Yeah, so, but it could be a fun comparison. All right.
Let's see how its big brother performs. You can only go so close to the curb because you got dualies.
Yeah, I cannot go too much closer.
Yeah, you can a few more inches.
Okay. So I think it's about even.
Iffy.
Let me crank it. By the way, this is a pretty long truck. So this is probably as long as...
You made it.
This is probably as long as an 8-foot bed.
Yeah, I would say so. So you are as maneuverable in this as the 2500, basically. Yeah. Maybe there may be 1 inch different or whatever, but it's pretty damn close in terms of that turning radius.
Yeah.
So despite the fact that you are a dually and longer, because of that front end setup, you are much more maneuverable than the 3500.
I think that's worth a lot of dollars. I mean, that's important to me.
I get it.
All right, let's pick our favorites. So, if you did have 80 grand and you really needed a heavy duty truck, which one? This one?
This one. This one because its payload is excellent. It still has the drivability like a 2500. It's not that much different. And at the same time, you know me, I like doing RVing. I like being able to, put a camper in something. This is exactly the truck I would want to do that because it won't strain with a nice sized camper in the back and towing.
All right. I agree with everything you said, but I choose this boy. Do you know why?
You don't have a bed.
I don't care. I'll build my own bed.
Oh, there it is.
But I love the way this maneuvers. It's really a lot more maneuverable. You could cut that front axle. And also for bigger trailers, like we do a lot of gooseneck trailer towing, maneuvering that in tight spaces, I love this. And I don't care that it doesn't have as much torque, right?
Yeah.
I still love this truck.
Yeah, this 3500 is an animal. One more thing though to mention, I think that secretly you want to be a hot shot, and that's the truck to start with.
Well, I do have a CDL.
Oh, there it is.
All right, let us know what you think. Which truck would you pick? And did we get something wrong? Let us know.